In 1988, NBC executives saw the script and panicked. The Facts of Life wanted to show a teenager having sex for the first time on primetime TV. One actress refused to film it. Parents were warned not to let children watch, and NBC almost pulled the plug completely. What you don't know is that this wasn't even the most shocking episode they planned. There was another script so controversial that NBC refused to air it at all. The truth about TV's most infamous Lost episode will leave you speechless. In 1979, NBC was falling apart. It had become the lowest-rated major network in America. Only one of its shows, Little House on the Prairie, made it into the top 10. Out of all its programs, just 4 managed to land in the top 30. The rest were failures. Big-budget flops like Supertrain wasted money. Strange shows like Pink Lady and Jeff confused everyone. NBC was desperate. When Fred Silverman became president in June 1978, he quickly ordered around 60 pilots. He knew the fall lineup would collapse. Out of that panic came The Facts of Life. When The Facts of Life aired on August 24, 1979, it introduced 7 girls living at a private school. That was too many for a half-hour show. The stories tried to tackle serious topics like friendship and identity. One early episode even had Blair spread a rumor about Cindy being gay because she was a tomboy. It was a bold topic for 1979, but the show couldn't juggle that many characters. By summer 1980, it ranked 74th in the ratings. NBC ordered major changes. 4 girls, Felice Schachter, Julie Piekarski, Julie Ann Haddock, and Molly Ringwald, were fired without warning. The decision came fast. Welchel, Cohn, and Fields didn't even know until they showed up for the season 2 table read. The producers said they needed to focus the show. Welchel later wrote about how painful it was to lose close friends so suddenly. That cast cut saved the show, but for those let go, it was the end of a dream that had barely started. Mindy Cohn had no plan to be on television. In 1979, she was a 13-year-old student at Westlake School in Bel Air. One day, Charlotte Rae and the show's producers visited the school to observe real teens for research. Mindy joined the group only to skip class and eat free donuts, but her natural charm stood out. Charlotte Rae said she reminded her of a childhood friend named Natalie. Producer Jerry Mayer liked her personality and sense of humor. They asked her mom for permission. She said yes. That was it. Mindy Cohn became Natalie Green without ever auditioning. It was pure chance, but it worked. She quickly became a central part of the show. Her warmth and comedy gave the series balance. The cast and crew were amazed at how easily she fit in. Cohn's story is one of the rare times when someone is truly discovered by accident. She went from a regular 8th grader to a series regular overnight. The role lasted for 9 years, all because she said yes to donuts and didn't want to stay in class. Nancy McKeon joined The Facts of Life in 1980 during its biggest change. The show had just dropped 4 cast members. It needed something new. Nancy was brought in as Jo Polniaczek, a tough Bronx girl who arrived on a scholarship and rode a motorcycle. She wasn't like the others. Jo was street smart and had no time for rules. That made her the perfect opposite to Blair, who was rich and polished. NBC president Fred Silverman said Jo gave the show new life. Ratings jumped right after she joined. The writers knew what they were doing. Jo and Blair clashed in every episode, and that energy pulled viewers in. Director John Boab said they needed someone who could stand up to Blair, and Nancy fit the role right away. Her arrival turned the show into a hit. The tension between Jo and Blair became the heart of the series. Before Jo, the show was in trouble. After Jo, it was one of the top teen comedies on TV. Kim Fields was only 9 when she got the part of Tootie. The character was written as a 12-year-old, but Fields was much shorter than the other girls. Producers had a problem. Their solution was simple but strange. They put her on roller skates. She wore them in nearly every scene for the first season to make her look taller. Fields later said she was just happy to have the job and would have done anything to keep it. The skates worked. Tootie became a fan favorite, but the age gap didn't go unnoticed. Fields later lost a part on Different Strokes because she had grown taller than Gary Coleman. That height mismatch couldn't be fixed. Still, she stayed on The Facts of Life. and became one of its most popular characters. Her energy and expressions made Tootie stand out. Fields held her own, even though she was years younger than everyone else. She kept the role through the show's entire run. What started as a challenge with height ended up becoming part of what made Tootie so memorable. Molly Ringwald joined the show in 1979 when she was 11. She played Molly Parker, one of the original Eastland girls. Her character was smart and outspoken, but with 7 girls on the show, no one got much time. That hurt her chances to grow on screen. In 1980, the network cut 4 girls to fix the show's pacing. Molly was one of them. The decision was fast and final. Even the remaining cast members didn't know until the next table read. It could have ended her career, but it didn't. Within a few years, she became one of the biggest stars of the 1980s. Movies like 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, and Pretty in Pink made her the face of teen film. When The Facts of Life started on NBC in August 1979, the network expected a strong spin-off from Different Strokes. Instead, it crashed in the ratings. The show ranked 74th out of 79 that season, becoming NBC's lowest-rated program. A harsh review in the Washington Post called it a feeble burble of frivolity. NBC quickly pulled the show and made big changes. Over the summer, the cast was cut from 7 girls to 3. Blair, Natalie, and Tootie stayed. A new character, Joe, was added. Even cast members were shocked. Lisa Whelchel said no one explained what had happened. John Lawler, who played Mr. Bradley, said plainly, "I got fired." In November 1980, NBC gave the show a better time slot on Wednesdays after Different Strokes. By January 1981, it hit a 27.4 rating and a 41 share, placing number 4 for the week. Over 27% of homes with TVs were watching. That same season, Jerry Jewell joined as Blair's cousin. She became the first recurring character with cerebral palsy on a primetime show. It was a major moment for representation. In less than a year, the show went from near cancellation to a huge success. By fall 1981, season 3 began with the show in a stronger 9 p.m. slot. It became NBC's top comedy and second highest rated show overall, behind Real People. It even passed Different Strokes in ratings for the first time. That season, it ranked number 24 in the country. NBC had other big shows like Chips and Little House on the Prairie, but Facts of Life found its place. Behind the scenes, producers Linda Marsh and Margie Peters joined to sharpen the tone. Jerry Mayer and Jack Ellenson led the creative direction. Roger Perry came in as Mr. Parker, the new headmaster. The show became more focused and stronger in its writing. It had started as a weak spin-off, but now stood on its own. The cast was tighter. The stories were clearer. The audience kept growing. It was one of the biggest turnarounds in TV history. Just 2 years earlier, most people thought it would be canceled. In the 1987 to 1988 season, NBC moved The Facts of Life to Saturday at 8 p.m. That was a hard time slot for any show, but NBC used it as a lead-in for hits like The Golden Girls and 227. Even after 9 seasons and cast changes, the network trusted it. Charlotte Rae had left. Cloris Leachman joined as Beverly Ann Stickle. The show still won its time slot against Airwolf and Benson. It also aired one of its most talked about episodes. In The First Time, Natalie had sex for the first time. The episode ran with a parental warning. It placed 22nd in the ratings that week. Lisa Whelchel chose not to appear. She had been a Christian since age 10 and didn't agree with the storyline. The show stayed relevant by dealing with real topics. It still pulled strong numbers even in its final year. NBC believed in it all the way to the end. The Facts of Life never broke into the top 20 shows in any full season. Still, it lasted 9 years with 201 episodes and 3 TV movies. That made it NBC's longest-running sitcom at the time. Its best season ranking was 24th in 1981 to 1982. Even in later years, it kept a steady audience. In 1985 to 1986, it ranked 27th, while adding George Clooney to the cast. It stayed ahead of shows like Airwolf and Benson. Teens loved it. In January 1988, USA Today surveyed 2,200 teens and placed it in the top 10. It didn't win many awards. It got only 3 Emmy nominations. Charlotte Rae was the only actor nominated in 1982, but the show kept winning winning its time slot. Lisa Whelchel said it best: "We've never been a huge hit, we just sort of snuck in there." On February 6, 1988, The Facts of Life aired an episode called The First Time that changed everything for the series. It followed Natalie Green on her one-year anniversary with her boyfriend, Snake. He showed up in overalls but took them off to reveal a suit underneath. It was a sweet setup for what would be a big night. Natalie came home at 5 a.m. and woke up Tootie. She told her that she and Snake had slept together. It was the first time a network sitcom had shown a young woman choosing to lose her virginity without being punished for it. But the next day, Snake called and said he needed space. Natalie felt hurt and started to regret what happened. Then came the twist. Snake returned and said the night meant so much to him that he needed time to think about marriage. Natalie didn't say yes. She turned him down. That moment gave her power over her own story. The episode didn't wrap things up with a clean message. It showed how choices have weight and how emotions after a big decision can be messy. For a Saturday night show in 1988, this was bold. It proved that even teen sitcoms could take real risks. Lisa Whelchel had been with The Facts of Life since the beginning. She played Blair Warner for all 9 seasons. But when producers wanted Blair to be the one who lost her virginity in season 2, Whelchel said no. She had been a devout Christian since she was 10 and believed the topic couldn't be handled well in a short episode. She told them clearly that she didn't want to be part of it. She said teenage girls were watching, and this wasn't something that could be taught in a few minutes between commercials. The producers backed off. But 7 years later, when the storyline came back, Natalie Whelchel was asked again. This time, she didn't argue. She just asked to be written out of the episode completely. That request was granted. She didn't appear at all. It was the only time she missed an episode in the entire 209-episode run. She chose her beliefs over being on screen. It was a rare move for a TV actor, and one that stood out. Lisa Whelchel showed that she was willing to give up screen time for something she truly believed in. The episode stood out not just for the topic, but for how it was told. It didn't take a clear side. Natalie wasn't praised or punished. She was simply shown as a young woman making a personal choice. The reactions around her were mixed. Beverly Ann didn't approve. Tootie said she was waiting for marriage. Jo kept her opinion to herself. That variety made the story feel real. There was no big speech at the end. No morals were handed out. Natalie was left to feel what she felt. Mindy Cohn, who played her, said later that it was important for one of them to go through it. She told Oprah, "One of us had to do it." That line stuck. It made the episode about something more than just plot. It was about being honest with the audience. At a time when most shows would have taken the safe route, The Facts of Life chose to go deeper. And it did that by showing a choice with real consequences and emotions, not just a simple lesson. NBC didn't treat the episode like just another Saturday comedy. Before it aired, they added a warning. It said, "Because of the subject matter, parents may wish to view tonight's episode of The Facts of Life with their children." That had never happened before on the show. It was a big move. At the same time, they agreed to write Blair out entirely, which had never happened before either. These two things showed how carefully NBC was handling it. The Federal Communications Commission had been calling on networks to give parents more tools. This was NBC's way of answering that. They didn't avoid the topic, but they also didn't force it on viewers. They gave a heads up, and they respected their cast. In doing that, they showed a rare level of balance for network TV in the late 1980s. The episode pushed limits, but didn't ignore responsibility. That made it feel different from most stories on television at the time. When it aired the first time, drew a 16.5 rating with a 27 share. That meant about 21 million people watched. It was the 22nd most watched program that week. For a show in its 9th season, that was huge. It showed that audiences were still paying attention. It also proved that serious stories could still get big numbers. NBC had taken a risk by airing it during the important February sweeps period, but it worked. After that, there was even talk of a season 10. But those plans fell apart when Mindy Cohn and Nancy McKeon chose to leave the series. Still, the episode left a mark. It's one of the most remembered moments from the show, and still holds a 7.5 rating on IMDb decades later. That's not because it shocked people. It's because it handled something real. In 1981, The Facts of Life did something most shows were too afraid to try. On January 28, Season 2 aired an episode called Breaking Point. It told the story of Cynthia, a bright student and a diplomat's daughter. She won the student student council election but later took her own life by swallowing pills. This wasn't a dramatic buildup or a last-minute twist. It was sudden, quiet, and deeply real. Blair had competed with Cynthia and treated her coldly. After the suicide, she was filled with guilt. The show didn't offer a simple answer. Cynthia's parents were divorcing, but no one pointed to that as the only reason. It felt like how real people respond. At the end, Blair suggested something that mattered. She wanted to start a crisis hotline at Eastland so other students could get help before reaching that same dark place. It was one of the first times a sitcom talked about teen suicide with care and purpose. And it didn't end with sadness. It ended with a plan to help. In 1981, that wasn't just bold, it was almost unheard of. The episode helped open a door that had stayed shut for too long. By the time the show reached season 7 and 8, things had changed. The girls were no longer just students dealing with cafeteria problems or gossip. They had grown up, so had the topic. Now they were facing adult situations like work challenges and serious relationships. The writing changed too. It kept the humor, but added depth. Critics began calling it a sitcom for adults, and they were right. One scene had Blair crash through a bedroom wall in a moment of slapstick comedy. But in the same stretch of episodes, they were having honest talks about growing up, feeling lost, and figuring out life after school. The reason it worked was simple. The humor made everything feel lighter. Executive producer John Boab said that was the plan. If people laughed first, they were more likely to listen later. The writers didn't lecture, they just told stories, and the audience stayed with them. Even as the show became more serious, it never felt heavy. That balance helped it stay strong in the ratings. The viewers had grown up too. The show didn't leave them behind. It walked beside them and told the truth with a smile when it could. In the early 1980s, The Facts of Life was a hit show watched by millions, but the young actresses paid a high price for growing up on screen. One of the harshest critics was Joan Rivers. During her comedy routines and talk show appearances, she mocked the cast by calling the show The Facts of Life. The girls were between 14 and their early 20s, going through puberty in front of a national audience. Lisa Whelchel later said in a 2013 interview with People that they didn't need the internet to know what people were saying. The comments hurt deeply. It wasn't just a joke, it shaped how they saw themselves. Whelchel and Mindy Cohn both admitted that the constant focus on their weight stayed with them into adulthood. At a time when they needed support, they got criticism. The pressure to look a certain way came from the outside world, and it was relentless. These were teenagers figuring out who they were, but the public only cared about how they looked. What started as a few words from a comedian became a lasting wound for girls just trying to do their jobs. It was a cruel part of fame that nobody warned them about. The pressure didn't stop with jokes. It followed the girls onto the set. In a 2023 interview with Yahoo Entertainment, Lisa Whelchel revealed that the producers placed a scale at the studio and monitored their weight during rehearsals. From 1979 to 1988, she was regularly weighed while filming. If her weight changed even slightly, it became an issue. When she wanted to visit family in Texas during a break, producers refused and sent her to a weight loss camp instead. They called it a fat farm and sent her to 3 different ones. Whelchel said this happened while she was dealing with her parents' divorce and emotional eating. Rather than supporting her, they punished her. The focus was never on her mental health. It was about keeping her body camera-ready. The producers tracked pounds the way others tracked lines in a script. Every trip, every meal, every choice was controlled. This wasn't about health. It was about image. The show treated its cast like products, not people. And Whelchel, just a teenager, was left feeling ashamed for simply growing up. That kind of pressure didn't just stay on set. It followed her for years. Mindy Cohn faced a different kind of damage. She played Natalie, a character often written around her size. During one summer break when she was 17, she became more active and returned to the show having lost weight. She felt healthy, but instead of praise, she got a warning. In a 2013 People interview, Cohn said the producers told her to gain the weight back. They said she looked wrong for the role. Her character wasn't allowed to grow or change. Her mother stepped in and refused to let her regain the weight unnaturally. In response, the producers began dressing her in large clothes to make her appear bigger on camera. This became a weekly routine. Cohn's real body didn't matter. What mattered was the illusion. The writers wanted Natalie to stay the same, even if it meant hiding Mindy's actual progress. The message was clear. Her health came second. Her job was to fit their script, not her own life. At a time time when she was learning to take care of herself, the show told her to undo it. And they did it not with words, but with costumes. It was subtle, but damaging all the same. While the younger cast members faced body shaming, Charlotte Rae dealt with something far more serious. She played Mrs. Garrett from 1979 until 1986. Fans didn't know that during this time, Rae faced major health problems. She needed a pacemaker while still filming the show. After season 7, she quietly stepped away from the series. At the time, the public was told it was a creative decision, but Rae later revealed she left because of health issues. In the years that followed, she battled both bone cancer and pancreatic cancer. Her departure made room for Cloris Leachman to join the cast as Mrs. Garrett's sister. In 2017, Rae shared her story in an interview with People at the age of 91. She had just been diagnosed with bone cancer and was deciding whether to go through treatment. Rae said she loved life and had already lived a full one. She passed away in August 2018 at 92. Her decision to walk away from the spotlight during the peak of her career showed quiet strength. She could have stayed and earned millions, but she chose health over fame. That story was hidden for years behind the show's success. In July 2024, Mindy Cohn revealed a betrayal that ended any chance of a proper Facts of Life revival. After the 2021 live special on ABC, producer Norman Lear approached the cast about developing a new version of the show. Lear passed away in December 2023, but before that, the 4 remaining leads, Cohn, Lisa Whelchel, Kim Fields, and Nancy McKeon, began meeting on Zoom. They even hired a writer. Everything seemed ready. But on Jeff Lewis Live, Cohn explained that one of her co-stars secretly tried to make a spin-off deal without telling the rest. The betrayal destroyed the project. Cohn didn't name the actress, but said fans could figure it out by checking who she hadn't been photographed with on Instagram. She called the person a greedy bitch and said this one move broke a 40-year bond. For decades, the cast had made a silent promise not to attack each other publicly. They avoided gossip, avoided conflict, and stuck together. That unity was what kept their friendship alive long after the show ended. But one selfish choice ended all of it. On May 7th, 1988, The Facts of Life aired its final episode after an impressive run of 9 seasons and 201 episodes. The finale was split into 2 parts called The Beginning of the End and The Beginning is the Beginning. These episodes weren't just wrapping things up, they were planting the seeds for something new. Blair Warner, once known for being a spoiled rich girl, made the decision to use her trust fund to save Eastland School from shutting down. Not only did she save the school, but she also became its new administrator. That decision marked the end of her character arc and showed how much she had grown. She started as a self-centered teen, but ended up as a responsible adult trying to give back. The finale also showed where the other core characters were headed. Natalie moved to New York to start her writing career. Jo got married and began a new life. Tootie went off to acting school in London. The show introduced new characters played by young actors like Mayim Bialik, Juliette Lewis, and Seth Green, hinting at a possible spin-off that never materialized. Still, the ending felt complete. It respected where the characters came from while showing where they were going.